Hello friends, once again I Dr. Vinay Sharma with the continuity of the neuroanatomy lectures in Chalk and Board, by channel Chalk and Board. I am continuing with the series. I was discussing about the Pons, and that was on the facial colliculus. We see on the facial colliculus level different tracts, and especially the characteristic feature of that level, at the facial colliculus level, turning of the motor nucleus of the facial nerve around the abducent nerve, that was known as a neurobiotexis phenomena. And now we are moving toward the rostral part or rostrum to the facial colliculus. We are discussing about the pons rostrum to the facial colliculus, transverse section rostral to the facial colliculus, pons level above the facial colliculus level, and what are the characteristic feature of that level. As at the facial colliculus level, the facial was there, the facial nerve nuclei was there, different nuclei of facial nerve was there. The turning of the facial nerve fibers or motor fibers, which creating the internal genu and the abducent nerve and pontis, nucleus pontis, and the fiber of corticospinal tract was there. Now I am moving ahead toward the rostral to the facial colliculus above level. Okay, now one by one we are discussing each and everything. First time at this level, on the facial colliculus level, there is appearance of the fourth ventricle, that is a roof. This cavity is capped now. This cavity is capped now, and there is superior medullary vellum. This is superior medullary vellum, and that is for resting of the vermis part of the cerebellum. For the vermis part of the cerebellum, first time the open cavity which was opened after the mid level of the medulla, it diverged and roof was not there. It is start to roofed by the superior medullary level, of which the cerebellum, vermis part or median part of the cerebellum is resting. Another characteristic feature of this one is, I draw from the brown chalk, these are superior cerebellar peduncle, and these appearing in the pons, these peduncles basically connect the midbrain with the cerebellum, and this having a majority of fiber rubrospinothalamic, the pathway, rubrospinothalamic pathway, which is passing through this superior cerebellar peduncle. Next to superior cerebellar peduncle, there is another pathway, ventrospinocerebellar pathway. We know that, we are familiar with this ventral spinocerebellar pathway. Okay, the first one in this upper part, that is superior cerebellar peduncle, and this is ventral spinocerebellar peduncle. We know the dorsospinocerebellar tract is already merged into peduncles, and this is the ventral spinocerebellar tract. It's a sensory. Again, in the tegmental part, there is the sensory pathway. Both pathway are the sensory pathway, and if I am drawing a line, demarcated line, the phenomena in the basilar part, the structure is similar, whether this is the facial colliculus or above the facial colliculus, the corticospinal tract. You know, as I told in many lectures, the basilar part is basically concerned with the motor pathway, many fiber which are coming from the area number 4, area number 6, and these are descending downward. Few are giving a message to the cranial nerve nuclei. These are known as that is known as corticonuclear, corticobulbar. Second one, which are descend downward and reaches to the different level of spinal cord to govern, that is known as corticospinal fibers or pyramidal fibers. And few relay here the fibers which are running in this part, the fibers running in this part, few of the fiber ended here in form of nucleus pontis, or when collectively known as nuclei pontis. Nuclei pontis, these are running in this basilar part, because the first fiber in this zone is ended. These again I am reminding you, the pyramidal tract or corticospinal, corticonuclear or corticobulbar tract, because these are corticopontine fiber or that, and these goes contralaterally through the middle cerebral peduncle reach to the cerebellum for the refinement of the movement. Okay, this part is almost similar as in the level of the facial colliculus. Whether this is the rostrum to the facial colliculus or facial colliculus, the basilar part is filled with whether the corticonuclear, corticobulbar, and especially the mentionable event there, the corticonuclear fiber, this corticopontine fiber, the corticopontine fiber crossing other side, reaching to the middle cerebral peduncle and reaching to the cerebellum. Why this middle cerebellar peduncle? That is important phenomena. That's all about the basilar part. Now we are emphasizing much more on the tegmental part, and when I am talking about the tegmental part, okay, the tract are almost similar as in the facial colliculus. Let's start to count the tract. Okay, number one tract, if I am drawing this tract in the midline, number one is the medial lemniscus. This is the medial lemniscus. I am denoting this one as ML. Medial lemniscus. We know the medial lemniscus is the lemniscus formed by the dorsal column. Okay, that is carrying the proprioception, nucleus gracilis, nucleus facialis, and this is the fiber. These are the fiber, and these fibers now arranged horizontally. And the first one, this is the medial, MEDIL, medial lemniscus. Next to there is the trigeminal lemniscus. This is the trigeminal lemniscus, and I am denoting this one TL, trigeminal lemniscus, and I want to clearly mention here, these are the crossed fiber of the trigeminal nuclei. These are the crossed ventral fiber. So this is known as ventral, trigeminalo-thalamic tract. Actually, this trigeminal lemniscus is ventral trigeminal lemniscus tract, and where this fiber is coming, these fiber are coming from the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve as well as the ventral aspect of the principal sensory nucleus, ventral aspect of the principal sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and these goes contralaterally. If this is the tract, the fiber are coming from this side, contralaterally crossing and forming the trigeminal lemniscus tract, which is the representation of the ventral trigeminothalamic tract. Okay, now if I am drawing in alignment, I can draw here by the red color. There is a dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract, dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract. Okay, this is dorsal because this is dorsal, and in the alignment there is a ventral trigeminal lemniscus tract, which is also known as trigeminal lemniscus. Okay, in the necklace form, that is, third one is the spinal lemniscus. Okay, I am representing this one by this color. This is the spinal lemniscus. And last but not least, this one is the lateral lemniscus. This is the lateral lemniscus. So usually we consider whether the facial colliculus or the matter of whether there is the facial colliculus or matter of the level above the facial colliculus, so rostral to the facial colliculus, the mnemonic we use as MTSL. In a necklace form, the medial lemniscus, the trigeminal lemniscus, which is representation of the ventral-trigeminal thalamic tract, the spinal lemniscus, temperature and thermal reactions, and lastly the lateral lemniscus. These are in a necklace form, arranged bilaterally, just dorsal to the basilar part of this area. Not only that, are also given the hint in the alignment. There is in alignment of this ventral lemniscus, there is a dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract. How these tracts are formed as contralateral fibers of the principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, dorsal aspect especially, give rise to this dorsal trigeminal lemniscus. Ventral part of the spinal, the principal sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, as well as the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, both give fiber which contralaterally cross and form this ventral. This is the concept of the trigeminal tract should be clear. Okay. Now, two more things. One, in between them, there is a red tract, rubrospinal tract. In between this ventral and dorsal, the rubrospinal tract. The rubrospinal tract. And one more thing, a central tegmental tract. Okay, if I can show this one, between the ventral trigeminal lemniscus tract and the dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract, which are the contralateral fiber forming the tract from the principal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. In between them, the rubrospinal tract and the central tegmental tract is present. Rubrospinal tract and central tegmental tract is present. Okay. Similarly, I can draw this here. The rubrospinal tract, central tegmental tract, and the dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract. This is the fibers. Now, in front of the medial portion, there is the tactospinal tract, which was previously also present there, and the medial longitudinal fasciculus. Okay, we are observing all these three tracts in the midline: the medial lemniscus, the tactospinal tract, and medial longitudinal fasciculus. Just from the upper part of the medulla, after the sensory decussation, we are looking this one. So, two things keep in mind. One, this necklace, that is MTSL, the medial lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, the spinal lemniscus, and lateral lemniscus. And in the midline of this medial lemniscus, there is tactospinal tract and medial longitudinal fasciculus. This is a pathway of balancing, medial longitudinal fasciculus. Okay, this arrangement was almost similar to the previous level, except the superior cerebellar peduncle first time appearing there, the capped fourth ventricle cavity first time appearing there. Okay, now the USP or the trademark of this level is the trigeminal nerve. The nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and first of all I want to draw the spatial nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, that is mesencephalic nucleus, which is just medial to the ventrospinocerebellar and adjacent to the fourth ventricle cavity. Okay, a very small locus coeruleus can be drawn here. Both sides, I am drawing the mesencephalic nucleus. This is a spatial nucleus. Why I am saying this is the spatial nucleus? This having the unipolar neuron. Okay, this having the unipolar neuron, and this is spatial. This is the something exception of the CNS, that a nucleus is having the first order neuron, and this is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and just adjacent to this, the locus coeruleus is there. I'm not just talking much about the locus coeruleus, but this is the mesencephalic nucleus of fifth nerve, trigeminal nerve. Not only that, all the nucleus, this is the level which is above the 6th and 7th. So all the nucleus. Now we are coming here. There is the motor nucleus. This is the motor nucleus, and lateral to the motor nucleus, there is the principal sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. The principal sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So this yellow color, remind all three: mesencephalic nucleus, the principal sensory nucleus, principal sensory nucleus at this level. This is motor nucleus of both trigeminal nerve. So three nucleus we can see at this level. The mesencephalic nucleus, which is special because the first order neuron is lying there. Second one we can see here, another one we can see here, the motor nucleus, and this one is known as principal sensory nucleus. Okay, if I can arrange this one craniocaudally, just another diagram, if I am drawing this one, this is the principal sensory nucleus. The principal sensory nucleus. This is cranially continuing with the mesencephalic nucleus, and the caudally it's continuing with the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Yet this is seen in the different plane. The craniocaudally, they are arranged in almost in an alignment, but all three having the different function. This is, as we all know, the trigeminal nucleus is concerning with the face, sensory supply of the face. So this is carrying the supplies from the ophthalmic division, fifth 1, fifth 2, the maxillary division, and fifth 3, the mandibular division. But all three are performing different function, as this spinal nucleus is receiving pain and temperature, and this principal nucleus is carrying the tactile and proprioception, and the spatial nucleus that is known as mesencephalic nucleus is sensory for the proprioception or positional and vibration from the muscle of mastication and muscles of mastication. These are having supply or senses from the muscle of the mastication. All three are arranged in a single the alignment, almost in a single alignment, but which are going up to the C2, the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, carrying the pain and temperature fibers. This is carrying, the principal nucleus is carrying the tactile and proprioception from the face, and from the muscle of mastication positioning, and their stretching is assisted by the mesencephalic nucleus, which is spatial nucleus, which is contradictory to the normal arrangement from the sensory, that the nucleus are formed by the second order neuron. This is This is from the first order neuron. Okay, these are arranged. The special thing is the motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. The motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve is actually a branchiomotor nucleus. It's a special visceral efferent nucleus is supplying the muscles from the first branchial arch. That means all muscle of mastication. I want to clearly redefine here that the motor nucleus is supplying, giving a motor supply to the muscle of mastication, and proper reception is carried by the mesencephalic nucleus. Okay, plus tensor villi palatini and tensor tympani, two muscles, are also supplied by this motor nucleus. The story of this motor nucleus is, this is the nucleus, branchiomotor nucleus. This is supplying the muscle of first arch. This is supplying the muscle of mastication, plus tensor tympani and tensor villi, both the tensors. But when we talking about this one, when we talking about this principal sensory nucleus, the fibers, the trigeminal fibers, which is supposed to be the arising from the dorsal root ganglion of trigeminal nerve, peripheral fibers going toward the face, the distal fibers are going in between them. Sometime is attached here, giving rise to second fibers, and sometime unparallelly it reaches to the mesencephalic nucleus. Okay, many a time this relate to the principal sensory nucleus and tractor arising from here. Okay, if I am dividing this principal sensory nucleus in the ventral part as well as the dorsal part, second order neuron, which is starting from here, from the ventral part as well as the spinal nucleus, both goes contralaterally and forming the ventral trigeminothalamic tract, that is the trigeminal lemniscus, as I discussed previously. If it is arising from the dorsal aspect of this principal sensory nucleus, it crosses contralaterally and reaches the dorsal trigeminal lemniscus tract. Okay, but fibers sometime relying here, whether sensory fibers are taken origin as a second order neuron from the principal sensory, or these are first order neuron, second order neuron arising from the mesencephalic nucleus. Okay, uninterrupted fiber from the mesencephalic nucleus. These goes contralaterally. These neurons are reaching ultimately to the area of the thalamus, which is carrying all the senses. I know it, VPM, ventroposterior-medial nucleus of the thalamus. Whether uninterrupted fiber from the mesencephalic nucleus or the second order neuron, crossed neurons from the principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, or whether it's going in the contralateral side as a trigeminothalamic tract or the dorso-trigeminothalamic tract, these are ultimately reaching to the BPM. So USP or major picture of this area or this zone is the trigeminal nerve and 3 neurons. As previous one, the facial colliculus was there. 3 to 4 main pictures are there. In a short, I want to revise them. The principal sensory nucleus, medially motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and above to medial to the ventral spinocerebellar tract, there is mesencephalic nucleus. 2 sensory and 1 motor, trigeminal nerve, and this giving rise to the ventral and dorso-trigeminothalamic tract. Okay, number 1. Number 2, the necklace form MTSL and rest of the neurons are there. Nucleus pontis and the tract arising from the pontis nuclei, that is the pontocerebellar tract, is similar whether the facial colliculus level or this rostrum to the facial colliculus level. Okay, the fourth ventricle first time capped, and the structure which is above that is known as superior medullary velum, and vermis part of the cerebellum is resting over this one. This is the basilar part where the basilar artery is separated from the clivus. These are USP, these are the spatial pictures at the rostrum to the facial colliculus level of the midbrain. These are the pictures. In a previous one we discussed the basilar part, the nucleus pontis, corticonuclear, corticopontine fibers, and the middle cerebral peduncle. First time the superior cerebral peduncle is appearing. First time superior cerebral peduncle is appearing there. Thanks for the patience for listening. Thank you.